Hey everyone, Bigfoot here, and today's lesson is built around the green stuff. That's right, money. Money is probably one of the more important factors when you're looking at through hiking, because if you ain't got it, you ain't through hiking. So I really want to talk today about the factors that are involved with what you're going to spend and what you know you can count on spending while you're on the trail. It's going to factor in to the budget that you need. In addition to that, what are some ways that you can save a little bit of the green stuff while you're on the trail? So overall, I hope you walk away with this with just some better understanding and really being able to plan a great budget so that you can be able to afford through hiking. And unlike some through hikers that I have met that had to get off the trail because they didn't have enough money to through hike the entire trail, I don't want that to happen to you. So starting off here, I really want to talk about how much money that I spent, because I do get that question. So starting off, outside of the gear that I spent, my entire trip cost somewhere around $3,500. And the real reason why I spent that much money, because that might be a little bit higher than probably what some hikers had spent, especially ones that are only hiking and on the trail for the time that I was. It was really around the lodging piece. Because I was uploading my YouTube videos so often, I needed to have a really good broadband internet, and I had lots of problems with finding that, unless if I went to some of the hotels like Super 8, things like that. And anyway, I leveraged that quite a bit, so I spent a little bit more money than most people just because of that aspect alone. So, and not to mention, I actually preferred staying in a hotel some of the times just because I wanted to just rest and relax and not have to worry about sharing a shower and a bed or bedroom with another hiker, and I just wanted to recharge, because I knew how important it was for me to recharge my batteries and be fresh to be able to hit the trail the next day with my limited time and trying to accomplish the trail in 100 days. So again, right around $3,500. But it's going to look different for everyone. Obviously, how long are you going to be on the trail for? What can you live? What can you live without? Factors of transportation and things like that are just all going to weigh in really how much money that you're going to spend. But let's talk about those factors next. So starting off, I want to talk about transportation. All right, so on transportation, the first factor is how you get into the trail. Are you going to drive to the trail? Is someone going to drop you off? Are you going to take a bus? Or do you have to take a plane to get to the trail? And then in that, do you have to take some sort of shuttle to get to the start of your through hike, whether that's down in Georgia or it's up in Maine at Katahdin? So it really depends on how you are getting to the trail, but that's obviously going to be your first factor. Now, the next factor, obviously, when you get done with your through hike, you got to have a way to get home. Most through hikers that I met took a plane ride back home. Some of them had the opportunity of actually having their family or someone meet them at the end, and they were able to take and hitch a ride back. So that's another factor that you have to consider. Some folks don't really factor that into their overall trip because they're just more worried and concerned about getting there and getting through the trail, but not so much on the way back. So make sure that you plan a budget with how you're getting back from the trail. If you're flip-flopping, obviously you're going to have a way of getting from whatever end you're flip-flopping from and back up to whatever area you're going to. Now, some folks are lucky enough where they can find hitches and get all the way up there, but if you don't have the time or you don't want to deal with that, obviously you're going to have some sort of transportation to get up the trail, whether it's some sort of shuttle, which would be probably very expensive, taking some, I think people have rented cars, or maybe it's even taking a plane. But anyway, you need to know that, and that is a factor as well. So shuttles, most of the time you're going to be taking shuttles together. Strongly recommend that you are carpooling with shuttles, because then you can split the cost. And that will just obviously lower and reduce the cost of your trip. But, shuttles aren't super expensive, $5 to $20, depending on how far that you're going. But again, you're going to see those in towns when you have to travel a large distance to get to an area to be able to resupply and things like that. Or maybe it's a restaurant, or maybe there's a brewery or something like that you want to go to. So again, you can leverage that and try to reduce that cost by carpooling with a lot of the other hikers. Overall, transportation I wouldn't say is a humongous cost, depending again how you're getting there and from. Folks that are coming from Germany will probably tell you otherwise, because obviously the flight's going to be a little more expensive than back at home. But again, something to factor in. The majority of the cost is going to be getting to the trail and getting from the trail. Last note on transportation that you can leverage that will help save you some money is join the Facebook pages that are geared around your thru-hike class. So if you're thru hiking in 2017, look for the Appalachian Trail thru class or class of 2017, whatever it's called. I forgot the name of it, but I think there was like 2 or 3 of them for our class of 2016, and that's a way of really being able to share communication, to be able to share best practices, things that are happening on the trail, stuff like that. That's really, really important, and it just helps everyone stay connected. But also in that, a lot of folks will use that Facebook page to try to coordinate when everyone's heading to the trail. So in February, March, April, you see this a lot, but folks will post a message on there, hey, I live in Texas, if in whatever town, Dallas, and if anyone's around the area that's going to travel to the Appalachian Trail to start their thru hike, could you pick me up and could I take along the way, and I'll give you $20 or something. So that's something that you can do that will help get you to the trail, and I saw that happen a lot. All right, so the next factor, lodging. So as I said, I probably spent a lot more money on lodging than what most hikers did, just because of the things I mentioned earlier in this video. But the factors in lodging is how often are you going to stay in town? There's a lot of thru hikers that don't stay in town every single time that they resupply, and then there's lots of thru hikers that every time that they resupply, they usually will stay the night in town. For me on the trail, most of the time that I resupplied, I stayed in town, and I did that because I wanted to take an opportunity to be able to sleep, get a great night's sleep, eat as much food as I could, do my laundry, and of course upload my YouTube videos. So I didn't want to get behind on that. So that was the reason why I tried to take advantage of that. I would say that about every 4 or 5 days on average, I stayed in some sort of hostel or hotel or motel or something like that. But how often that you stay in town will obviously have a big impact with how much money that you're spending on lodging. The next factor in lodging is where are you staying? There's hostels, there's motels, there's hotels, there's campgrounds, and there are also places that trail angels will allow you to stay at their place if you're lucky. So the most popular of all those options are hostels. You probably have heard about hostels, and if you haven't, whenever anybody hears the word hostel, they think of the movie Hostel. It has nothing like that. Hostels are a great option because they're probably going to be one of the cheapest places to stay, and if you enjoy having the camaraderie with hikers and all of that offers, hostels are going to be the choice that you'd like to go with. But there's advantages and there's disadvantages, of course. Motels, hotels, they're going to be more pricier. You will have the solitude of a hotel and a motel. And for me, I spent the extra money so that I could have a place to just have the solitude, to recharge my batteries, and to, again, upload my YouTube videos. You're going to find that if internet is really important to you and you need really good broadband internet for whatever reason, because you're streaming or downloading or whatever, the hostels, in my experiences, I think I stayed maybe at a dozen hostels. The hostels don't have great internet because everyone's on it. Everyone's using one going off one router. Usually it's not the strongest broadband. So if you're looking at it at a hostel, good luck. There wasn't many out there that supported that really well. And again, you'll come through campgrounds that go through state parks from time to time. And then, of course, I mentioned trail angels. Once in a while, you'll actually see a sign on the trail that will tell you that there's a trail angel that's offering their house for you to stay at. Give them a call and they'll come pick you up. So, which is really cool, but you can't really rely on that. Now, some best practices on this, outside of just staying at hostels, is getting groups of hikers together and sharing rooms. That happens all the time. A lot of folks, and usually most of the time, motels, hotels will allow up to like 4 hikers in a room. So when you take a $70 or $80 a night room, divide it by 4 hikers, you're really coming out about the same cost that you pay for a hostel. And you have your own room, you have your own shower for the 4 folks or 3 folks, or whoever's in there. And the only thing is you'll have to figure out who gets the bed, who gets the floor. So, but anyway, you can save a lot of money by hooking up with other hikers and sharing a room. Another factor to consider, and this is actually a very popular factor as well, is churches. There are lots of churches that you'll find along the AT and trail towns, and they will offer their place to stay with either doing some sort of work for stay, and that might be doing dishes, cleaning something, or it might just be some sort of donation. And they'll accept any donation, $1, $5, whatever you can afford. A lot of hikers, especially hikers on a budget, leverage churches to stay at. And if you're there at the right time, they'll actually serve you food. Now, I believe I only stayed at one church during my entire Thru-Hike, which was Waynesboro. If there was another one, I don't remember. But it just so happened to be the night that they also served food. They had a big spaghetti dinner. So it was really cool to be able to do that as well. So that's another great place to stay at. Look into that. When you look at AWOL's guide, it points out churches in almost every single trail town, and that will help save a lot of money. The last factor that I'll tell you in lodging is work for stays. The most common work for stays that you hear about is probably the huts up in the White Mountains. I'll talk about that in another video, but there are other places along the trail that you can do and really be able to do a work for stay. And I remember meeting some hikers that have stayed at different hostels. Hostels were probably the thing that stood out the most. And they stayed there for like a week for free because they did extra chores around the house, around the hostel, and helped the owners of the hostel with things like that. And they just in turn let them stay for free. So it really depends on what you're looking at, and work for stays as being an option if you have time. I'll do a different video again on the huts of the White Mountains when I do my White Mountain section hike, but I will talk about that more. So that kind of wraps up lodging. Lodging is and was a big part of my spending, and I think that was an area that I mentioned I spent maybe about $1,700-ish. I probably could have realistically saved almost $1,000 if I probably would have made some better choices and not really made the choices I did with uploading the videos by staying in hotels and things like that. So you can save a lot of money in that area. All right, so the next factor that we're talking about really is food. And there's a few things that really weigh in with how much money that you're going to spend in this area. The first is being food choice. During the course of the trail, my choice of food really changed and looked differently from the first 300 miles to the last 300, from the first quarter to the last quarter to the middle quarter. And there's lots of reasons for that. Your body is going to crave whatever it's lacking. So if there's something that you're really not balancing out well, your body's going to crave that and it's going to want that, and you're probably going to change how you're eating on the trail. And that can make just big decisions on what you're spending on food. Now, if you have a stove compared to if you don't have a stove, that's also going to make a big impact. I was stoveless, so most of the things that I bought really weren't any things that I could heat up or rehydrate rather. I couldn't really choke down anything that I rehydrated if it was cold, like ramen noodles, and other folks can do it. So it depends on you. But the folks that are out there that are buying the mountain houses and some of those pre-packaged full meals, those are a lot of money. It's going to cost $7 to $10 a meal, unless if you buy things in big bulk, and that just adds up to be a lot of money in the long run. Overall, food is probably going to be about 50% of your budget, or it could be even just a little bit more. So this is an area that you can definitely watch, and you can save dollars here and there. And again, a lot comes to really the choice of food that you have. The next thing that really comes into factor is if you're mail dropping yourself resupplies. So some folks will actually plan out their resupplies and send themselves 5, 10, 15 resupplies, or have a family member do that along the course of the trail. Some folks will actually make their own food, dehydrate it, and send it up. And some will just buy the food like it is in the grocery store and the non-perishable items and mail it to them on the trail. One caution with that, again, is what I just said before this, which is your taste, your cravings will change. One thing I noticed on the trail If I would try to eat something I really didn't want to eat, it brought my morale down, and I just had a really crummy time on the trail. So I had to eat things that would keep my morale up. So that's something that is going to be really important, and you really are not going to know what you need and what you want until you get like, a few weeks out on the trail and get a chance to really see what your body is desiring. Another factor, which probably plays the biggest role in how much money that you're going to spend, is how much you are eating out and how much you're drinking. Obviously, there are plenty of areas and places on the trail to go get a beer, go into a brewery, go in to eat out. Every time that you go in town, you're probably going to want to get a nice hot meal, a pizza, ice cream, things that you really can't make on the trail. You're going to want that as much as possible. And depending on how much money you want to spend on that, that can really be a big factor in your overall budget. So those things, just again, be wary of. And I think there's lots of places you can go to get a decent deal and a big meal. Make sure that you're talking to hikers, especially when you're starting to hit some of the southbounder hikers. And a lot of people, there'll be rumors around the trail, and people, the hiker talk and leveraging the Facebook blogs they have out there set up for your through hiking class. All those things, people share best bets and share places, and one of those things is where are great places to eat. So definitely leverage that. Now, factors that play into saving a lot of money in this area on the trail. So first and foremost is sharing food with another hiker. So going in together and buying things at a grocery store and splitting the cost. If you can agree on buying the same things, that can save just a ton of money on the trail. I know that one factor alone just left my pockets a little bare because I spent so much money on food sometimes because I didn't have anybody to split it with. Because there was times where honestly the things that I wanted were in a bigger package, and I really didn't want to bounce it ahead, and so I was forced to either give away or just eat a lot of food when I was in town, and because I didn't want to pack everything out. So if you can share and split food with other hikers, that works out great. Bouncing packages. So another thing you can do if you have time and you're going to be at the next location that you send your package to when the post office is open, you can buy your food in your grocery stores and actually send a big chunk of that up to your next resupply point, and that can help balance out your costs. Now, obviously, you have to pay the postage. Depending on the weight of your package, that will obviously depend on how much postage that you have. So that's a way that you can save a lot of money, as well as if you're bouncing packages ahead on the trail. So, between those things and sharing, mail dropping, and bouncing packages ahead, you can save a lot of money in this area. But most of the people I think that I ran into on the trail when they talk about cost, food, beer, especially beer, were some of the big factors that contributed in their budget. All right, let's move on to the next factor, which is gear. Lots of areas that you can save here in gear, especially if you can plan well. So the first is, if you can avoid changing your gear multiple times on the trail, it's going to save you a lot of money. The outfitters out on the trail just charge an unbelievable amount of money, at least most of them do, for their services and what they're supplying. So if you can avoid that by any cost, that's just going to save you a ton of extra money by eliminating the middleman. I remember the one that stood out to me the most was probably Mountain Crossings, which is at Neal's Gap. I can't tell you how many people are actually doing shakedowns and things like that because they weren't prepared for hiking the Appalachian Trail, and they come down Blood Mountain and they're just beat up. They're tired of how heavy their pack is, so they do a shakedown and they spend $1,000 on getting new gear, a new tent, a new backpack, all these things to save like 10 pounds of weight. So you can do all these things. I'm going to do a video on these a little bit later, but you can do all these things and you can plan for this and save you a ton of money. So please make sure that you do your research, do your plan, and for God's sakes, go out and make sure that you are testing your equipment out so you can understand what's working and what's not. There are so many people that don't do this, and it kind of drives me crazy because I just see so much potential of what they can do to save money and just be better prepared on the trail. All right, footwear. So you're going to go through lots of different pairs of shoes. And one of the factors here is, are you hiking in boots or are you hiking in trail runners? I was a trail runner guy. for many reasons. Again, I'm going to do actually a video about boots versus trail runners and the benefits of both and the disadvantages of both. But trail runners, I went through 4 different pairs of trail runners, and those are something that you can save a lot of money on if you do your research and you buy them beforehand. So some things about trail runners and boots. First and foremost, you're going to want to make sure that you buy at least a half, if not a full size bigger than your foot. For the amount of time that you're going to be on your feet are going to swell up. And if you buy boots and trail runners that are the same size that you wear back at home, after your feet swell up, you are going to lose your toenails. You're going to have pains everywhere, and it's not going to be very fun. So again, you want to get a full size at least. For me, I actually wore a full size and a half above my foot length. So I also have wide feet as well, so I wanted a little more comfortability with that. But the thing you need to know about this is if you're going to buy your footwear beforehand, you got to make sure you know what size that you're buying. The only way that you'll really know what size will fit you well and be comfortable is if you're doing the pre-hikes that I recommended in my planning videos. So if you know that, highly recommend buying your footwear in the beginning. For me, the shoe that I wanted, that I liked, that was most comfortable, they were the New Balance Fresh Foam Heroes. I believe I heard from someone they stopped making them, but anyway, I ended up buying them. I researched them and I waited till they went on sale. I got a really good deal on them on Amazon, and I bought like 4 pairs all within a week. So if you can save money there, I think that is just a great way that you can do it. I will tell you that if you buy them on the trail, you're probably going to spend somewhere between 30 to 50% more than you would if you were looking for a deal and buy them on Amazon or another website. So if you could do that, you're going to save a lot of money. Fuel. So fuel is another factor. If you're stoveless, you're not going to be doing any fuel, of course. But if you're not, you're going to have fuel. So that's just something that it's going to cost you some money along the course of the trail. Fuel is not super expensive, and it's more almost like a nuisance when you're trying to get it, because there's going to be some times that you're going into town and you can't find anywhere to get a fuel canister, and you have to make an extra trip somewhere, which is just a pain in the butt. But fuel is something that you're going to have to take into account in your food in your gear and supplies as well. Clothing. So with clothing, there's a great possibility that you're probably going to lose some weight during the course of the trail. So with that, you're probably going to have to change out some clothing. And during the course of the trail, I personally had to change out my pants a couple different times because of how much weight that I lost. And I just honestly kept my shirts. They were a little bit larger for me at the end. But that's something that I had to do. And I actually bought my clothing, understanding that I was going to lose some weight beforehand. Again, doing my research. And when there was a really good deal on a week on Amazon or somewhere, I just bought the size that I knew I'd be probably able to fit in once I got halfway through my hike. So clothing, again, you can save some money there if you do your research, but you're probably going to drop some weight and you're going to need that. Again, do your research and avoid buying anything if you can from outfitters. There are still a few things I bought from outfitters here and there, but if you can avoid the big ticket items like the footwear, the tents, the backpacks, the sleeping bags, things like that, because you're prepared, you're just going to save just a ton of money. All right, wrapping things up is our last factor, which is miscellaneous. First thing that kind of stuck out to me with miscellaneous is permitting. There's one permit that you have to pay for on the course of the trail that's going through the Smoky Mountains, costs $20, and quite frankly, it's more of a nuisance than anything else, but it is $20 more that you're going to have to pay. Now, one thing that didn't pertain to me specifically, but if you are hiking with a pet, a dog, there are going to be some times that the Appalachian Trail does not allow dogs to go through. Smoky Mountains were one of them. I want to say Shenandoahs were another, but I can't recall. Anyway, you're going to have to find a way to be able to have somewhere that will be able to board your dog. There are services out there, but they're going to be a little bit of money. But that's something that you're going to have to factor in if you are hiking with a dog. All right, I mentioned earlier about eating out and drinking, and I'm just bringing it up again because those are 2 factors that play a huge role into your budget with everything and your budget with food. But if and when you are going through your trail towns, there's going to be things and activities that you're going to want to do, sightseeing. going to Washington, D.C., places like that, that are obviously going to cost money, not just to go to, but also the money that you spend on there. So that's something that you're going to want to understand as you're going through the trail, especially when you're going through the South. There are so many historical things, and there's going to be places that you're going to want to go and see, especially if you are not native to that area and you want to experience it. So something that you want to factor in while you're going through your hike. And, you know, really the last one is, I talked a lot about it a little bit, but it's just postage. So if you're sending some things home or you're bouncing packages, things like that, again, just something that you have to keep aware of while you're going through the course of your hike. Now, the last thing I wanted to just talk about is how much cash you should keep on hand. I remember this as being a topic that I researched while I was doing my research on the Appalachian Trail, and I would say that, you know, most commonly you probably want to keep somewhere around $100 cash on you. Once you dip below about $40 cash, you probably want to resupply your actual cash, because there's going to be things that you actually need specific cash for. Anytime that I could spend my money with my card, swiping my card, I would do that and just save my cash for the other things. But there are going to be shuttles that only accept cash. There are going to be places like hostels that only accept cash. And there might even be some restaurants or even a resupply that only accept cash. There's not really many that stand out to me. The most common were like hostels, lodging, things like that, and shuttles. But you do want to have cash in those times when you do need it. Or if you're going along the trail and you just get off and there's like a hot dog stand or something like that around. So all in all, I hope this video was helpful. If there are some things that those of you that have thru-hiked or know from experience that will help in the budgeting, please below throw it in the comments. Would love that. I'm sure that the viewers would love to see that. And if there's any other questions that I really wasn't able to answer, please again answer that below, and I'll do my best to answer the question. I hope you found this again valuable, and I will continue doing different topics of the things that learnings I have from the thru-hike, or things that I research that I can help share with everyone, so that you guys can be better prepared for your upcoming thru-hike. So signing off, it's Bigfoot. Thanks so much. Again, if it's valuable, I hope that you like the video, and again, share any comments that is of value as well. Thanks guys, until next time, Bigfoot out.